Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Lisa. From department store model to rubbing elbows with Madonna, Lisa has experienced everything from leading humanitarian missions to speaking on hundreds of stages across the world. She labels herself a mother, life coach, author, transformational speaker, TV host, and avid traveler with an MA in spiritual psychology. Her fascination with people has taken her to over 60 countries, landed her a documentary series on Amazon called Soulblazing, and set her up to run her own retreats and workshops around the subject of leading a more purposeful life. So excited to have her here. Welcome, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for taking some time out of your day to sit and chat with me a little today. I had a chance to kind of go through all of your stuff and so much. You've done so much.
Yeah, I have. Someone the other day that I met was asking me my age, and what do you think? He's like 37, and I'm like, you think I did all that by 37? It's like, you're so accomplished.
Totally. That's I absolutely love it though. And I think that even just that gives people, women especially, hope. You know, sometimes we have all of these dreams and we have all of these aspirations that aren't necessarily all totally aligned. But it really gives individuals the realization that, hey, listen, I can do something right now. It might not be the thing that I'm going to do forever. And then I can pivot and I can kind of go in a different direction. And I think that that's so important to see, to see somebody doing.
Oh, absolutely. I pivot all the time. I have so many passions, which I think is the case with so many people, that you know, it feels like ADD, but I think you could do everything, but just not everything all at once. And as long as you prioritize, I use little note cards, and every morning I put on my desk what I'm getting done that day. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to be all over the place, because it's like, oh yeah, that screenplay I'm writing. Oh, but that book. And oh, I'm speaking here. Let me work on that speech. Oh, I've got to see this friend. Oh, it's this one's birthday, you know, just whatever it is. Yeah.
I love that. So wait, so you prioritize and you have like a note card or two with like a specific priority you have to get done that day?
Yeah. Yes. Like
Cool.
for today, you know, I put this, and I had an 8:30 meeting, and I have an investment call at 4. So like those are the key ones that are like hard appointments with other people. Then on my own time, I label it my CEO time is this, and my writer is a writer. That's my time. So I put in a block, hour and a half you're writing, and you know, these 2 hours you're CEO, meaning going through emails and getting back to people and just organizing whatever it is I have to do.
I love that. Why do you put it on note cards? I've never heard of that.
Because I put it on this size note cards, just because when I put it in my calendar, it's there, but if it's not in front of my eyes, I don't see it. So I take it, then I just put it up, and then I go, okay, this is what I've got to do today. And it just is an extra little reminder. It's kind of going back to old school of where we used to write everything down in a journal. So for me, I'm so organized in my house. Everything's labeled and everything has a place. Everything has a home. But inside my computer, it's like, you know, just because I can't see it.
Yes.
So, you know, my desktop, I'm like, oh, if it's not on my desktop, I won't be able to find it again. And I don't know. It's just me.
That's so cool. And then when you're done, you just throw the note card away.
Yeah.
See, I do paper too. I preach paper to all of my clients because you go to your phone to look at your calendar, before you know it, you're in Instagram for 30 minutes
Exactly,
because you got a
exactly.
notification. So
Mhm.
I preach to keep everything, your to-dos and all of your have tos on paper.
Yes,
So I
yes.
love that. I love the idea of a note card. Wow.
Yeah, and then I put like 15-minute blocks throughout my day to return phone calls, you know? Because
Yes.
people are calling, "Hey, what are you doing? Do you wanna go grab lunch?" Or do like all this, just improv friendship stuff that I have going on. So I could go, "Hey," talk to them, or, "Oh, I could carve out this time." And so, yeah.
Look at that. We're already 5 minutes in and we got things to do. That's
Yes,
awesome.
it
That's
really
awesome.
helps. It sounds so simplistic, but it's not. It really changed my life from being so much more productive, and I've
Yes.
been doing it for about 2 years. So,
Yes.
yeah,
So
it's when you're
cool.
juggling a lot.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about that. That's so interesting. I like the idea that it's small. I like the idea you can just toss it. That's cool. I'm addicted to the legal pads. Like I have a planner and I have a legal pad. I have a legal pad everywhere all the time, taking notes and learning and pulling in even all these podcasts. I'm always taking notes. So I want to
Oh,
talk to you, Lisa. You've done so much.
mm.
You've been on crazy journeys, traveling all over the place. I still haven't even left the United States.
Ah!
So I'm going to be living vicariously through you while we're
Yeah.
talking here. I did get my passport years ago with the intention of, and then just never did it. I've never left. I've lived in many different states, so at least I got that going for me. But I've never been out of the country. But I want to ask you, so what is, with all of the stuff, what is one of the biggest challenges that you have overcome or had to overcome in your life? And what did you learn from that challenge?
Mm, that's a great question because there's so many challenges daily, as you
Yes.
know. But I think one of the greatest challenges was growing up in San Diego, but under a Baghdad roof. My father was from Iraq and my mom is American. She was kind of like Amish in a way in the hills of Virginia. But growing up in San Diego, where everyone's, the beach and this and that, and to have the rules of the Middle East was very challenging. And one day when I came home from baking a cake, my dad happened to be there, but he worked 8 to 11 at his own grocery store. And when I walked through the door, there was like a gun pointed at me. And I'm 16 and I was like this goody goody two shoes, good student, good friend. And he's like, "What are you doing out so late?" Because the street lights were on. It was like 5:36. And I said, "I was just baking a cake for our friend. It's her birthday tomorrow, with another friend down the street." "You can't do that. That's being a whore walking down the street in your, Christian checkered school uniform." I'm like, he's like, "Send her to an orphanage." Like, orphanage? What's an orphanage? Because I have 4 sisters. So basically, what he was doing was making me the example in the family. Like, if you step out of line, this is what'll happen. He was a good guy, life of the party, the best friend of everyone, but he had 5 teenagers at the same time. My mom had her first child at 18, then another at 19, twins at 20, and another one at 22. So we were all in high school around the same time, and he was freaking out about boys. So he saw me out and going, "Oh my God, where is she?" And then that means all the kids will do that if he doesn't make a big statement. But that's a big statement. And for me, when I had a good relationship for him to do that, it was just like devastating. It did something to me. So when I went to my room crying, I thought, he always said, "Everyone's out there who's bad. Everyone's going to hurt you and rape you and kill you. And, only here, and here's who your husband is, marry within the family," and all that stuff. So I got curious of who are all of these bad guys. So it got me hitchhiking, and I'd sneak out of the window. I do this, I do that, and just get in cars with like Hell's Angels types. And, "Why are you the way you are? Why do you have tattoos? Why do you drive this car? Why do you hurt people? Why don't you have a job? Why, just all this stuff." And they became my angels. Not one of them hurt me. And I did it about a dozen times. And I thought, oh, wow. So everything that parents think they know, maybe they don't know. And it really got me questioning. It got me into curiosity and wonder and dreamer. And I just thought, wow, there's a whole world out there that I'm supposed to fear. Maybe I need to plunge into that. Then as I was going through my life, I wanted to go to LA to be an actress. And of course, my dad, you can't do that. That's legalizing being a whore because you're just getting, as long as you're kissing on screen, you're getting paid, you can do it. But, be unfaithful to your spouse and nudity. And I'm like, oh my God. But a couple of years in, I found out that, he wasn't so far off, but women weren't whores. Men were just not the best, a lot of them. So I got a lot of Me Too stuff, and I got, just all these roles of 5 seconds of nudity, 8 seconds of nudity, this, that. I'm like, I can't do any of this. So I quit, and that was hard on me because that was going to be, my life. But I thought, I can't do this or I'm going to disgrace my whole family and all my, relatives. So I went through a who am I, what am I moment and kind of a little midlife.
Wait a minute. So like you actually had roles coming up, but they included these little tiny itty bitty nudity scenes. So you just left?
Yeah, I got a soap opera, not even to be nude, but to be under the covers, like making out with someone. I was the affair. And then I said, I can't do that. But you're covered. I'm like, but it looks like I'm not. Because up to here, you could see, and you're making out with someone. I said, I can't make out with someone. I can't, everything. Then I got a Remington Steele, the guy who started in Remington Steele. Then he was, what's that called? 007. What's his name?
007?
007. Yeah, he was later James Bond.
Connery? Who?
James Bond.
James Bond, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I got a $6 million HBO movie with him. I would play his wife, but I'd be nude again. And he was a sculptor, but I would be covered like this, holding my hand here and my leg in front of me like that. But I said, I cannot be nude. They go, well, you have pasties and you have like a nude babe. I said, I can't because it appears to the audience that I'm nude. So I quit. That was my final straw.
Oh my gosh. Wait, so how do you feel about that? Are you good? Or do you kind of like wish you would have explored that a little bit more and not have listened to other people's opinions? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's both. Part of me wanted to live that out because it was my dream and I love playing other characters. And I think there's no greater growth than being in that field and just exploring the psyche of whatever character you play. But on the other hand, if I had been an actress, I wouldn't have traveled to over 60 countries. It wouldn't have put me on this journey.
Wow.
I would have just been acting in movies and, hanging out with other actors, maybe all that kind of stuff. So what happened was I ended up saying, I'm going to go to Iraq. And my goal is to meet Saddam Hussein. I know it was crazy. And Al-Qaeda was big at that time. And there was a no-fly zone. So you keep hearing on the news that you take a bus from Jordan to Iraq and it's an 18-hour bus ride. And 5 times it stopped. And sometimes they go, Al-Qaeda gets on to kidnap Americans or steal from them. And I thought, oh my God, I could go on this bus ride to Iraq and get kidnapped because I was in love with Christiane Amanpour. So I thought then I could become a war reporter. What I'll do is I'll work with them and I'll co-write a book with them because I felt I had a superpower because I was with Hell's Angels and all this stuff when I was rebelling and nobody hurt me. I put myself in harm's way 100 times. So I thought, I could handle them. So I did that. I got a Louis Vuitton bag and I got fake diamonds and I went to Jordan and then I went on the bus. And anytime the guards would come, I'm like, oh, my diamonds. My dad would kill me if he knew I brought my diamonds. Oh, do you know Louis? And here's my passport papers. And nobody hurt me. Nobody would give me any attention except be super nice and thank you, enjoy your stay. And so that plan was, fell through. But what it did was it took me to Iraq. We're Christian Iraqis. So I ended up going to Tel Kef, where my dad was from, a small town, because there's only like 2,000 Christians left in Iraq. Everyone else was Muslim. And I went to his home, which was caves. They're all caves together and everyone slept on rooftops where you could jump from rooftop to rooftop. Really cool. Then they had a church, they had a little grocery store, just basics. And they had an orphanage. So I walked in the orphanage. This is the orphanage my dad was telling me about. So I walked through the doors and I started talking to the kids and going, oh my God, tell me everything. And they're like, you don't care about us. You're bombing us. Americans this, Americans that. My uncle lost his leg. My dad died. I'm like, no, that's all politics. We care. We care. And I said, I'm going to memorialize your words. They're like, okay, are you sure? I'm like, yes, tell me everything. So they start sharing stuff. I'm like, what am I going to do with this when I got home? And then that led me on a journey of 5 years to 15 orphanages, interviewing the kids, then writing a book called Whispers from Children's Hearts. It's actually right here.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, Macau. So I asked them 3 questions and I made it really cute, and China, Italy. So it's a really cute little
Wow.
book of their quotes and how they felt and, about life. So yeah, so it was wonderful. This was an amazing, amazing experience. And it took me to Australia, China, France, Iraq, Israel, Italy, Japan, Macau, Malaysia, Mexico, Nepal, Netherlands, Peru, Singapore, and of course, the United States. So this was life-changing because once I did this, I self-published, and then somebody self-published it for me. And then I ended up giving it to bookstores and libraries and schools. And then I started getting asked to speak everywhere. And I took my daughter to school for first grade in Barcelona, and I passed it out all over Europe. And then I got asked to speak here and there. And then everyone had the book, and I became a speaker. I became an author speaker, and I never had that in my repertoire. That's the last thing I did.
Wow. So wait, so what was the subject in which you were speaking?
It was about the book, about the experiences and the children around the world.
Wow. Was there a moral? Like, and this is to teach,
that
this is what I learned.
Bringing in humanity, compassion. What are we doing to the kids? Giving kids a voice. They need to have a say. So yeah, and all there is, learn to love and be loved. That's it. If you can't accept love, you can't give love. And that's why so many kids are in orphanages. That's why we have wars. Everything is about ego and me, not about the other or us as a whole. So
wow, very cool.
Yeah. And then
what were the 3 questions? Do you remember?
Yeah. Is God fair? Why or why not? If you had one wish, what would it be? And who in the world would you like to meet and why?
Wow. What's the most memorable?
It was Iraq, because they were suffering so much. I will share a few. Who would you want to meet most? I would want to meet God to understand my purpose and why I'm here. I just don't understand the reason for life. My mommy said there is no reason, just live because you were born. I'd want to meet the American president because I'd like him to know that we are nice. I think if we met, he'd like me and then protect my family because he likes to have fun. I've seen him on TV smiling a lot, and my family is fun. That was when Bush was president. I'd meet your president, ask him why he lets bombs fall on my daddy. I'd want to ask an American doctor to bring medicine because I don't have any left and we're sick. Like just so profound. And some of them were simple, like in China, I'd want to meet my cousin Kwang because he protected me when he lived here. Now he moved away to Xi'an. Do you believe in God? No. I believe in Buddha. He is the man that changed people's thinking forever. All of them, they're just so different. And some people in America, it's just like, oh, what do you want most? I want Barbie and Ken dolls, or I want Australia, I want to surf, and I want to, meet the #1 surfer in the world. And so it's very different. Some are political,
wow,
playful. Yeah, Mexico, I want to meet Jesus. I have questions about how he died. Yeah, just, it was just fascinating. So I took, like the top, answers, 3 or 4 answers for each question in each country after getting about 50 answers. As a lot of them are similar. Yeah.
That's so cool. Did you actually notate their like first name or something?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And on the website, the whispersfromchildrenshearts.org, I turned it into a foundation then and started having legacy galas and raising money for the kids and all this stuff.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah.
All from just that one trip.
just from that trip. And my dad's saying, I'm sending you to an orphanage. And I'm like, ah. So it took me to an orphanage and took me all over. So that's what I'm saying. If I was an actress, I probably would have been playing in a soap opera for 10 years, or maybe this show, and then maybe eventually a movie or two that doesn't really make a big difference in the world, just entertainment. And I think everything I've learned and the people I've met through travels and leading, this led me to start leading retreats because people started wanting to go with me. Can I go with you to the orphanage? So I'm okay. So then I started creating, retreat packages, and then taking people on this whole journey and all these exercises to stay with the Maasai tribe in Tanzania, or to stay with the Sufis in Cappadocia. And so it became so much bigger than that. And then we'd just go to a place and be like Oprah and knock on a door. What do you need? And we'd have medicines and food, and we'd hire local carpenters to build stuff. And they don't have beds, or they have dirt floors, and we'd build bunk beds and floors, get them chickens and goats and clothes for the kids and medicine. It was a lot of fun.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did the journey go from that all over to soul blazing?
Because I always thought I had a superpower once that happened, because I put myself in danger, and somehow all the bad guys became my angels and my therapists, because I started telling them everything. My dad said this. Is this true? Is that true? Or why do you live that life? So I would start telling them stuff that was going on in my life, because I knew they wouldn't tell anybody, because we were always told, keep everything private. Don't share anything. But I'm like, oh, all these people, I could just share whatever I want. And a lot of them were so wise. So after doing all this travel, I thought, I need to go back to school, because I felt very street smart, but I wanted to learn more and dig in the psyche, since I was writing these books. And so I went and got a master's in psychology. And then in the second year program, they said, create a type of therapy. It was one of our projects, and what you would do. So I called it the bell theory. And then, because I love those big church bells when I traveled. So then over time, I worked in a prison, getting my 3,000 hours. And I was there for 4 days working with people, maybe 5 or 6 to 10 people a day, because sometimes you worked in duos or trios. And with all these about 250 inmates who were lifers. Then on my last day, the last person, I got the bully of the prison, and I asked why she was there. And she said, just to get points, but she doesn't care about anything else. I'm like, but I'm here to help you. I don't want to be helped. And who are you? Who do you think you are to think you could help me? Your life's nothing like mine. And I hate your
Wow.
stupid briefcase, because I had this special briefcase. So I started laughing. I said, I hate my briefcase too. I brought it to impress you. Apparently it's not. So we just started talking. I started blazing her. I looked her in the eyes, held her hands, and just told her I loved her, and then shared this and shared that. And by the end of the session, she started crying, like tears in her eyes,
Wow.
saying, Lisa, you blazed my soul. And I went, Bella, you just gave me the name for my therapy. I'm going to call myself a soul blazer. And that's how that happened. I said, you said you had nothing else to give. Then I gave her affirmations based on her experiences that she shared with me. So I call them declarations, to help her look at anytime she wants to hurt someone or do something. And I inspired her to use the payphone to raise money for battered women, because she had murdered 3 husbands because they always were attacking her. You keep marrying the same kind until you change your thoughts, you attract the same thing. So anyway, 4 or 5 months later, she raised 75,000 on a payphone. And then the prison's calling me saying, what did you do to her? She's like the angel of the prison now. She's not the bully. She helps people in, and she raised this money, and da, 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 da. So that was
Wow.
called Soul Blazing in honor of Bella. So
Wow.
yeah,
So cool.
yeah,
Where is she now?
in prison. Yeah, she's in for life. Yeah, yeah.
Lisa is really tears dropping, having seen how people are suffering or marginalized. But the most comforting thing is that we are able to reach out when they needed our help. She's from Nigeria.
Oh, yes.
So I want to ask, what does success mean to you?
So success to me means what I said earlier, I think, knowing how to love and knowing how to accept love, because I feel one of the hardest things in the world is to love and accept yourself, and to really get to know yourself and be truthfully who you are. If you don't know who you are, someone else will tell you who you are. So I think we're all on this journey, a soul's journey, to discover who we are and how can we be a blessing in the world. Because I think we all were given a gift, and it's our job to uncover that gift and give it away to be of service. So if you find out what that is and you give it away, you're a success.
Yes. So I want you to expand a little bit, because that little thing that you said about if you don't know who you are, somebody else will tell you who you are, or something like
Yeah.
that. It sounds very cliche. It's like something you'd see scrolling on Facebook, and I'd screenshot it and be like, yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I really started to dive into personal development where little cliches like that actually like really resonated with me. Can
Mhm.
you give us just a little more on what that means to you?
Yeah, I think from my childhood, we were taught you have to be this way, sit this way, smile like this. You could smile, but not too loud. Otherwise, you're a whore, especially if you show your gums. Sit with your legs crossed with your hands like this in your lap. Otherwise, guess what? You're a whore. You always got to dance one song, sit down, don't dance anymore, or you're a whore. So it's like all these rules. You're Republican because that's what we are. This is how you think about this. This is how you think about that. This is what everything about you. This is who you are. This is who you're going to marry. So after the gun incident, I thought, okay, let me recreate myself. Who am I if I didn't have any of that? And going on that journey is very hard because you keep slipping back into it because we're hardwired that way. So in order to find out who you really are, you really have to strip yourself of being you. You have to break up with yourself and create a new personality, because your personal reality is just impression of your personality. So once you start going, oh, I wake up every morning and I get my cup of coffee, and I just don't wake up in the morning and get a cup of coffee. Set your alarm to 30 minutes earlier. Get up on the other side of the bed. Maybe do yoga first thing in the morning, just a few stretches, write in your journal. So the way to start switching things up and really knowing who you are is doing a morning routine. And I found a lot of successful people do that, and it's changed my life. If you get up and actually make your bed, meditate for 10 to 15 minutes, an hour if you've got it, on this new version of yourself. Take the time out to write about who you are. Like if you're single, even if you're married, think about who you want to be married to and become that person. So all the qualities you like and respect in someone else. So if God, I'm just fundamentally lazy, or I just don't cook, or I just don't, what is it that you would love in a spouse? Then write those down. This is who I am. Then start stepping into them. Use your little cards and write down, like this is what I'm stepping into. And one little thing, like I'm working on bettering my cooking of all plant-based foods. So it's like cook one meal, every 3 days or so. So get the ingredients one day, the next day find the recipe, then get the ingredients, then cook, something like that. Break it down so it's not overwhelming when we're so busy.
I
But
love that.
yeah, but taking the time to do it, piano, I just got keyboards, and I have a piano downstairs, but upstairs a keyboard so I could practice so nobody could hear me. I just want to know the basics of that. I haven't done that for a long time. So I start playing a little bit in between like these calls, and 10, 15 minutes, just play a song or two and learn something new, do scales for a minute, It just helps
Yes.
you become you. And then I have thought leaders, or not just thought leaders, but people around, because they say you are the 5 people you hang out with the most. So I've got Gandhi, Simone de Beauvoir, who wrote The Second Sex, the first book of empowering women. I've got Oprah. I've got Herman Hesse, who wrote Siddhartha, among other things. Anais Nin, who is that revolutionary woman who wrote in her diaries. I've got John Lennon and Wayne Dyer, Eve Ensler, who wrote the Vagina Monologues, Aubrey Hepburn, because I love her beauty and grace, Maya Angelou for her poetry and her writing. So So I'm looking at these people all day as I'm writing, and I take them in and I have their books here and I'll just open a passage to get their feeling because, oh, I want this quality from this person, that quality from that person. And it really helps to create who you are.
Yeah. I love Audrey Hepburn. She was in Sabrina.
Yes, yes. There you go.
She's
Yes.
the original Sabrina.
Uh-huh.
Great movie.
Yeah.
I want to, oh, I was going to say something that caught me off guard. Well, I want to ask, when what was the example that you gave of the food? Okay, that's what I was going back to, is the food. I think that this is great with the plant-based, because a lot of times when individuals are trying to, let's say, get healthier, and they're like, okay, that's it, we're going vegan, and it's just like this whole thing of like shifting identities from one to the other. And can that work? Yeah, 100%. But most of the time it doesn't. But using the technique that you're talking about here, where you're like, hey, listen, not so much pressure, let me just introduce it, 2 times a week or 3 times a week or whatever it is, and then actually have a step-by-step plan on what that's going to look like. It just feels so much easier to do some sort of transition when you're actually blocking it up like that. I think that that's fantastic. And the reason I think it's fantastic is because the next question I wanted to ask you was, at what point are we good enough? Because a lot of times when we're living our life and we already feel like there's not enough time, like already we're like, not enough time. Then you throw in personal development and you recognize that like half the stuff you're doing is wrong and you're supposed to be doing it this way, not that way. And then you're like, where am I supposed to come up with the time to sit and meditate and do like a morning ritual that Lisa's talking about? At what point will I be good enough? And it can kind of get heavy. So I want to kind of like join your one idea of that you were talking about with the food and like breaking it up, but then also ask to kind of give a little more substance to the audience of what is your theory on being good enough? Are we ever good enough?
Yes, you're good enough as you are right now. Everybody is. However, um, life is so full and so rich. And if you want to expand and grow, I think there's no better quality in a person than curiosity, and how to keep developing yourself and learning something new, because that's what keeps you young. That's what keeps you interested in things and interested in others and having commonality. And all we have is connection. If you don't, we're tribal people and we have to be connected to others. Otherwise, there's a hole in us, a loneliness. So cooking is one thing that really brings people together. So good enough is really like, I saw Jane Unchained. I love her website. I met her at an event. She was a newscaster and she does everything vegan. Now she went into movies. She's movies starring pigs and everything. It's like really fun, talking about pigs having dinner and humans are being cooked and I'll have a finger, I'll have a couple of toes. I want the right thigh, I'm eating. I mean, it's just really fun. And it just hit me. And it's like, you know what? I've been vegetarian though for like 20 years. But it just hit me. I don't usually cook that much. I have my staples, just a salad or pastas and rice, quinoa, but I don't get fancy. So I
Yeah.
said, I want to, instead of, I can't eat unless I go out, especially when you're traveling to, states that don't have that or countries. So it's like, why don't I start learning at home? So I got a cookbook and I didn't touch it for a year. I'd open it and go, too much. So I thought, why don't I pull one little recipe? And I got it from her website. She has all these recipes and people who are cooking there. So I go, let me just get one recipe. And I said, here. And then that was Monday. On Wednesday, I'm going to get ingredients. I could sit on it for a minute. And then I watched the video of how they make it while I was organizing or cleaning something. And then I said, I'm cooking Friday for my friends. And then, so by Friday, I always already had a little bit of the grocery shopping. So you get a little excited. Then you already watched a video on how to cook it. So you're more familiar. It's not like daunting. and then you cook, and then it's so fun. And you're like, wow, that came from nothing. And now I'm feeding all these people, especially non-vegetarians, of letting them try jackfruit tacos instead of just meat tacos, and Beyond Beef burgers with all this special sauce that's vegan sauce instead of mayonnaise and ketchup and traditional mustard. So it's really fun. And you start getting to introduce all these little factors. So I think everything is breaking it up. Same with dieting. I have so many clients, oh, I can never lose weight, this and that. But once you say, you know what, put an image of what you want to look like, a realistic image, put a number that you want to be at, and just put that number everywhere. I have it on my mirror, I have it on my computer, I have it in my car. So it starts getting into you that that's your number, because your body goes to a certain weight and gets super comfortable there. And it's hard to get it down. Very easy to get it up or even a little higher, but hard to get it back down, especially the older you get. And then just when you're doing your morning exercises, just be mindful of the thing I told you earlier, of write down who you want to be. How do you look? What are your behaviors? What are your patterns? Everything that you'd love to see or that you admire in others. Like, oh, Simone de Beauvoir wrote every morning for a half an hour. So let me take that on. Just journaling, not writing my books or anything. Anais Nin wrote in her diary. So that's, kind of the same thing, of really deep personal stuff. So instead of just writing about my day, I'm going to go deep into emotions and feelings. Herman Hesse wrote about a book that changed everyone's lives. Oh, so I want to write a book through my travels and my experiences that really change lives, not just entertainment, even though there's so much value in that. And you just go through it. Oprah has her own show. I'd love to get my own show. Then I got the Amazon show. Let me, so Audrey Hepburn just presents herself with such beauty, and grace. So, I'd love to carry myself that way instead of hunched over. So, I'm going to do yoga, and I'm going to do, so you put it in. I love yoga. Wow. Writing is my passion. Sharing and learning and sharing my learnings with others and helping people grow is my meaning of life. Then you just read that in the morning. Then I do a meditation with music. And then I record that, and I listen to that in a loop. This is who I am. And I put headphones in and an eye mask so you aren't affected by your environment. Because when you're just doing it like this, even you could go, oh, you see where everything is. Oh, there's the piano, there's this, there's that. And you get caught up in who you are. But if you're trying to basically change your personality into someone who is an artist, is fit, is healthy, is a cook, takes care of themselves. It takes time. It takes rewiring, because we weren't brought up like that. My mom cooked. She did, and said it's easier if I do it, because there was 5 kids. She didn't want to deal with all of us and our messes.
Yes. I love this idea of you being able to look up and be reminded consistently of individuals that inspire you. Yeah. And I feel like that's such an easy thing to do, that all of us could do, as far as finding quotes or individuals or people that are doing things that you aspire to do and keeping them in front of you at all times. That's so brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And then I have my declarations up there too. And, some quotes. And so I just look at that. Oh, I'm the master of the word no. Just looking at, I am a timeless, ageless goddess. I'm a powerful, committed listener. I am the undisputed champion of self-forgiveness. I stand in my optimal brilliance. I experience support of everyone around me. I stand in my vulnerability. And all of those come from, I feel like I put on a mask where, I'm strong. Let me help everyone else. Oh, do you need help? No, I got it. So I'm going to stand in my vulnerability now. Like, oh yeah, I could use a little help. Or I experienced support of everyone around me. I wasn't getting support from some key people in my life that I felt, there's this issue or that. So I'm like, okay, let me change that. Because I keep going, God, that person, da, 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 da. So your thoughts create your reality. So I go, stop saying that. Say that person is giving me love and support daily, and start saying that, because there's someone I can't kick out of my life because they're, family. So that became my mantra, and then that shifted, and now we have a great relationship, and that person's a support in my life. So but I don't just do affirmations that you get online. I do it based on an issue I have, and then I turn that into a positive, I call it declaration, then you read these declarations, you put it in your phone and you listen to them. So your morning routine, I'm listening to my declarations, I'm listening to me talk about who I am, who I'm, you me that I'm stepping into being. And when you start your day like that, really creating your day, then you have your little note card of what you're doing today. That's preparing. And then people go, oh God, how did you write that book? And you have 3 Zoom classes and you got these clients. And now you just got to offer to write a pilot for a show. And you got this, and you're in a good relationship and you've got 500 friends and you're throwing 150 4th of July party people for that. How do you do it all? And it's because of these little note cards.
The note card. I was going to say that. You're very cool. I'm listening.
And it's creating your mornings. If you could create your morning, then you know exactly what you're doing and you don't get off track. You don't start squirreling, is what I always call it. Squirrel, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, let me just watch this show. Oh, the news. Let me sit there. Oh, let me eat. It stops you because you're like, oh no, this is what I've got. These have to get done. These 3.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
One of the things in order to combat that I've done and that I've recommended my clients to do is to cut time out for that. So like if you want to veg and watch TV or you want to do some sort of social media or whatever it is, just put it in the day.
Exactly.
When you're doing that, the cool thing about it is if you time block it, then you don't feel the guilt of you're supposed to be doing something else while you're doing that. You can actually like do it guilt-free, which just feels so much better than to have this like heaviness of like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm not doing this. And then you're not necessarily like fully enjoying it even because you have all this extra stuff. I love that. I want you to talk a little bit more about curiosity.
Okay. But before I do that, I'll go back to what you just said, because that was really important, I think. So sometimes if you do the blocks and something like really comes up, like let's say, I don't know, someone gets sick. All of a sudden they're in the hospital. That happened about a month ago. Someone got hit. And I'm like, oh, I got to go to the hospital to go visit them or give them this and that. So I'm like, oh, my block was this. You could just take that block and move it. I moved it to 6 p.m. or whatever from 2 p.m. and I went and did that, then came back. So you could move your block. It's not engraved in stone. You could just, fluctuate if need be. It doesn't happen all the time. And if really serious, you can move it to the next day. But at least you're aware of it and you're on top of it, or do a little extra the next day. But I just move those blocks sometimes. And that's why I get up sometimes at 4:30 to get stuff done that I didn't get the day before, because that time is so quiet. 4:30 to 7 or 11 p.m. till 2 in the morning are my work hours when I feel I have to get really concentrated work done.
Very cool. Yes. 100. Yeah. Move your time. That goes back to, pivoting.
Yes.
And recognizing, which I just think your life is such a testament to you can decide to do something and then you can pivot and do something totally different.
Yeah. Who do I want to be this year?
Well, we don't recognize that. Like even my son, my son's 18 years old and there's this pressure of like, I don't know what I want to do because I don't know if I want to do that forever. It's like, you don't have to do it forever. Just if you feel like you're going to enjoy that, just do it now. And then when you decide that you're done doing it, then just stop doing it and then do something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So back to your question about curiosity.
Yeah.
Curiosity to me is like, how would I describe this? When I go out to a party or like I'm throwing another big party, I do these every few months, networking and engagements or my big workshops. So I think when I do that, curiosity is really being curious about each person, not just saying, oh, they can't do anything for my career. Let me look at someone who does. Or when you're talking to someone and then they start looking over your shoulder to see, oh, okay, I already made you as a contact. Who's the next one? That is somebody who lives life just through their own lens of what's in it for me. And those people usually don't make it, or even if they do, they're not happy. They're sad and lonely inside. Curiosity to me is being interested in everyone, every culture, every religion, and understanding it and understanding other people's points of view. So you're not rigid and hard or my way's the right way. If you don't believe in God, I'm a born again Christian, you're going to burn in hell. Really? So all the Muslims, all the Buddhists, all the Jews, everyone is going to burn in hell. It just doesn't make sense. So it's like, what is your belief? And if it works for you, fantastic. and find what works for you. So staying curious, like when I travel, I don't go to a country and have an itinerary. I go to a country and say, let the country take me. So I look for my soul family. I get
Oh
it.
my gosh, that just gave me chills because I'm such like, I need some sort of structure to kind of hang on to. So just hearing you say that made my whole body.
I don't even have a hotel. I go there to say, maybe I'm going to meet someone at the airport. I'm going to stay with my soul family, someone there.
Are you serious?
And I've done that a dozen times, maybe more. And
That's
then
like
I
a
don't
whole
meet
nother
someone.
level.
I don't meet someone. I go get a hotel room for one night. Then as I'm out at breakfast or out around, I meet people and say, oh, can I stay at your house? I'm here for this time. I want to get to know people who I feel, I call my soul family. Like, oh, I feel a connection with you. And can we, then a lot of times they say yes. So now I'm staying with these hairdressers in Amsterdam. And now I'm staying with a grandma and her family. Now I'm staying in Kuwait with this family. Now I'm doing, it's just a completely different experience compared to just staying in a hotel. Because now you're living with a variety of people and you're really getting to know them and you're understanding the culture, because what you understand, you don't fear.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Very, very cool. That
Yeah.
went in a different direction than what I was expecting. Very cool. I took some notes. So I want to ask one more question. Well, I have a couple more questions, but before we jump into soul blazing and what it exactly is, and people who are resonating with the conversation, we have quite a few people listening live. By the way, thank you for those of you that are listening live. We appreciate you being here. If you're watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so we know that you were here and we can say hello. You mentioned declarations. How did you come up with yours?
By sitting down and doing a mind dump, closing
Okay.
my eyes for a minute and going like this and thinking, okay, I gave myself 5 minutes, and then what was my thought? Oh, I have to do a mind dump. Oh, I've got to go to the grocery store. Oh, this person said that. Got to turn that in. Oh, I didn't do that correct. I've got to redo that. Oh, I've got to clean up that drawer. Oh, so and so is coming over. Got to walk the dog. Whatever it is, getting everything out of your mind. And when you start this, because we have 40 to 70,000 thoughts a day, most of them are negative and most of them are repeated. So once you find out what, and that's what I call imposters, what thoughts are in your brain and what are they telling you, then your whole life changes. And instead of just saying thoughts in your brain, I thought I'd be fun and call them imposters, because I feel each person gave you those thoughts. Like your parents, my mom gave me thoughts of how to be, how to act, what's right or wrong. My father still in my head saying stuff, a school teacher, a boyfriend, a friend, whoever, a book. Whatever it is, everything you did bad, all your shame and guilt stuff, for a lot of people, they're just repeating. So you start writing them all down. Then it's like a ball of yarn that I, make an analogy, that's in the stage of your brain, and you can't really move forward in your life, especially at a speed you'd like to, if you've got all this chaos that you can't think clearly. So take that out and put the yellow strand, the blue strand, the red strand, because each of them have a personality and a voice and a different issue. So that's why I call it imposters. So, oh, my mom was an overthinker, so I'm an overthinker. And she told me, you can't do that. You can't do that. Never share your story because people throw it against you. Never write in a journal because people read it and judge you. Someone will get their hands on, never, whatever it is. Never get married or have kids because it'll ruin your life. And my dad, you got to get married and have kids, otherwise it'll ruin your life. You got to do that. So it's like, oh, I'm not married, I better get married, whatever it is. Or I'm married and I'd like a divorce, but you can't get a divorce because of, so you just start writing down whatever your, stuff is that you've accumulated. Then once it's written down, you start going, oh, okay, this is a thought. This was my dad. If you name it, you could claim it. Then you go, that's not my thought. And a lot of these are from dysfunctional people, including parents. Just because they're adults or your teacher doesn't mean they were highly functional. All of us are dysfunctional in many ways, or we come from our perspective, our point of view. I come with 4 sisters, and all of us have a different perspective of our childhood. It's very different. So we're all seeing things, but we're seeing it from our lens, not how it really is, but our lens of how we see the world based on all of our accumulated experiences. So you write it down and say, oh, I was told I was dumb. and that's still in my head, so I can't move forward. So I would write a declaration, with the opposite of that. I love being the smartest person in the room. I love that, I trust and, believe in myself, whatever it is. Then you start changing that. But when you do it, like I was telling you earlier, with music playing, I just get a simple music track that you could download, and I put all this down on that. So I'm listening to it with this meditative vibration, because vibration is everything. How you vibrate is how you are in the world. You could be this. When I met many of them, my husband is the co-creator of Two and a Half Men and Big Bang Theory, and I went to the Emmys, Oscars, Grammys, People's Choice for 7 years, and met all these top stars and everybody in every field, especially Big Bang Theory, Wozniak. Everyone was on that show. All these experts, scientists, creatives, writers, everybody in my life, and almost all of them, if they did not do this work, they were rich but unhappy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? One of the mantras was another soul-sucking day for the writer's room. I'm like, what? You guys are the luckiest people in the world, making so much money and telling jokes all day, and with friends, with buddies, and getting up and down and having all your assistants just bring you food, and you don't even have to write. People write it on the board. You throw out something that's written up and someone else is typing. But it's just, you get used to it. You get spoiled and you forget.
Wow.
So it's like when you do this work, you start saying, because a lot of them feel I'm not worthy, and they're imposters out. So they have imposter syndrome. I don't deserve to be here. I kind of snuck in the back door. I did this or I did that. So I thought, God, there's something there. Who wants to be rich and unhappy? Then you just turn into an alcoholic, drug addict, like you saw in many of these shows. So, and you waste your money and you have a lot of pain and you hurt a lot of other people. So once you go, oh, that was that from this person, then you could understand it. And then here's that from that. And you create your declaration. Then you start rewiring your brain. You take the time in the morning to shift who you're being, and you step into that person you're meant to be. Because even if you are able to do the ABCs of your career, you're never going to make it big or really be in a healthy relationship if you've got all this baggage. You've got to clear it out, because it's your vibration. If your vibration is low, it doesn't matter what you know. I have 2 great friends who are so brilliant, and I love their books. I'm like, oh, I got to get you on a stage or introduce you to do a podcast to some of these. They're horrible in speaking or on the stage. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're me and you just talking. You're great. Your book. They just low vibration, low energy, and don't have a lot of compassion for dumb people. They don't like to talk down, and this is where it's at. But most people can understand, then it gets too heady and they don't want to change. I'm like, you're too rigid. You'll never make it. And they're struggling to pay their bills when they're like geniuses. And it's like, because of who you are, you have to vibrate at a level that other people could vibrate with you, and you mirror people that you're talking with. So then now that's a connection that was formed. Then when you do this, you start stepping into the light, you start stepping into your soul, and all of our authentic souls came here with the gifts to give. Then we have our personality, which is created from all our life experiences, to sabotage us, because it was always super easy. Nothing would be worthwhile. You've got to have your obstacles. So everyone has to go on their hero's journey. My hero's journey was going to Iraq and back. And when you go on that hero's journey, you grow and learn so much about yourself. And then you come back and I go, oh my God, Dad, I get why you did that. I love our culture now. Instead of it was, I hate my culture. And it's so, I love the culture. I love this. I love that. And I love you. And we had the best relationship in the world. And because I didn't hold, this happened to me and you did that, it was like, oh, I get it. Everyone in Iraq has guns. That's how they stone people to death. So this is mild compared to what you were brought up with, but it's out of love. And we can't get that. They would heat shish kebabs and beat you on the back until you have wilt. But, but they go, oh, but it was from love. So that's them loving you so much. And I know it's hard to understand it. I'm not, recommending it, but I'm just saying at that time, it helped heal. So once you start healing yourself of past wounds and being a victim, that's why victim is like the mothership of all the imposters. Once you heal yourself from being a victim, then you get to stand in your power. I'm not a victim. What role did I play? And I picked my parents, So I was supposed to go on this journey. I didn't become an actress because I was supposed to go on this, big bad adventure that was just amazing across 60 countries and talking to all these orphans, very purposeful travel for the most part. And that changed my life. So would have being on a Young and the Restless for 10 years done the same thing? Not so much. I would have been bored. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. I love that. Absolutely. How long have you had your declarations for?
Not that long. Maybe 10 years. Consider
Wow.
work, but I was doing affirmations before and doing other stuff. But once I locked onto that, it was really cool. This is something that Wayne Dyer shared about one of his clients that I think is really apropos right now about your life. And this is how most of us walk through life. The assignment was write your bio in 5 chapters. And this is what someone wrote. 1, I walk down the street and there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault and it takes forever to get out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street and there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It's not my fault. It takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. But my eyes are open. I know where I am, and it's my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, finally, I walk down another street. Isn't that
Wow.
fun?
That's
And
from Wayne Dyer?
yeah, he did this for his students, and one student wrote this, and he was sharing it because everyone else wrote, my bio. I grew up in this place, and I did, So, obviously the point being, if you don't take the time in the morning to rewire your brain and go, who am I being? Otherwise, it's Groundhog Day. Keep going. I don't know. I have so many clients. I've been writing this long, and I've been doing this, or I've been coaching. Can't get clients, and it's like, well, look at who you're being. You're not solid in yourself. You're not vibrating where you're saying, universe, come find me. Once you know you're good and you're vibrating at a certain level and you're prepared, that's all you have to do. The universe will bring you clients. They'll bring you TV shows. They'll bring you whatever love you want in your life or whatever you want in your life, real estate, whatever it is. It'll all come to you because you're saying, I'm ready and I could handle it. Yeah. Otherwise, it's too much. The wires are, it's like you can't get a good station on the TV or the radio. And once you tune in and it's a clear station, clear signal, it all comes to you.
Wow. Absolutely. Very cool. I love it. Absolutely love it. Tell us a little bit more about soulblazing. I want to know some details. How do you help all the humans?
Humans, soulblazing. Soulblazing is about the 7 imposters that have taken over your brain and have been making decisions for you without you even knowing, because you thought that's just who you are. And I'll show you the cute stuff. You could go to soulblazing.com to see the website. So there are like the 7 imposters.
Oh, yes.
So I made it fun because, like, when I was working with clients, I would start seeing patterns. So I started writing down, forget about the issue. Where's that coming from? Oh, this is an egotist. Everything is someone else's fault and they're the leader. They know best. They're always right. Oh, this person's a joker. All they talk about is, putting other people down or throwing people under the bus for a joke. Haha, just kidding. That kind of thing. This one's a victim. Everything is, I married this person and he did this to me and that, or she did that to me, whatever it is. And my life, or my parents did this, so I couldn't do that. I didn't ever have money. I never got to go do this, and all these excuses. Or the seductor, where they, like what I was sharing of when I came to Hollywood, the men and women used to, being seductors to get what they want. If you don't do this, you don't get the part. Or women, I'll do whatever to get the part, whatever it is, and men too. the fixer. They're always fixing other people or helping other people so they don't have to work on themselves. Then they think they feel good about themselves and everyone loves them, but they don't respect themselves because they know they're secretly hiding. And the overthinker, like when my mom died, she was like, oh, I always wanted to write my story. I never overthought it, wrote 10 drafts. So we recorded her, my sisters and I, and then we wrote her story down for all her grandkids and everything to
Oh,
have.
that's cool.
Yeah, but it was like she wanted to do that so badly, but she overthought everything because she was a perfectionist and wanted everything to be perfect. Then the judge, because the judge is always judging others and judging yourself, like, oh, I'm not good enough to write, so I'm just not going to write. Oh, that's for other people. Or I can't believe that person's doing that. They're not talented enough, or they're not, always judging. So once you get a hold of that, and it's, you either walk into your story and own your truth, or you live outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. And that's what it's like when your imposters are taking over. You're hustling for your worthiness, but you'll never feel worthy because you didn't work on changing your vibration and changing your thought patterns and stepping into, no, my authentic soul is perfect and knows everything. We don't even have to read a book. We could download everything if you're that spiritual and that in tune, like the Buddha and stuff. But if we just took it down a few notches and just took a time to go, let me get to know my soul. Who am I? What do I really want? If I scrap everything in my life so far, my parents, my friends, my family, my careers, my hobbies, my habits, strip it all away. Who would I want to be if I could just start from scratch right now? And it's amazing what you'll find and all the
Wow.
truths that come out of it. And then writing that down and listening to it every morning. This is who I
Wow.
am. You know, I'm a musician, even if you can't play a song. I am a writer, even if you feel you're not good enough to be a writer, because it'll all come to you. It'll all magically appear, because when the student is ready, the master appears. The right people are going to fall into your life and you're going to get guidance, and it's just going to be life changing because now you're going to respect yourself. And it's slowly all your past failures or shame or guilt is going to diminish, because most people live in the past. First thing they do when they wake up, oh, this is who I am from my childhood, without us even knowing. So you got to keep creating, going back to curiosity and wonder, keep creating and creating these magical moments. So you stop going back, because you have all this stuff now that you created. Since I moved out of my house, I've created a lot and I keep creating. You know, every 2 months I have 100 people plus here, and we're doing all this exercises and fun and different bands and music and jugglers and snake wranglers and, you know, belly dancers, all this stuff, you know. And we're always learning and growing. So all these experiences with different circles of friends starts diminishing. Oh, when I was in second grade, that person did this. Oh, when I was in sixth grade, you know, it's like, what? Who is that? That was a past life. That's not even me today. I'm not me from the beginning of this call to now. I've already shifted.
Yeah.
So quit blaming yourself for stuff you did in the past and just make a concerted effort to create you now. Who are you now? Who are you being in the world? What are your thoughts? And catch yourself. If you see yourself rolling your eyes with someone saying something, go, no, they're on their journey. I have something to learn from that. I just learned a lesson. I'm being the judge imposter. Where did the judge imposter come from? Who in my family or in my tribe judges people? Where did that come from? Write it down. Then what's the opposite of that? I feel every person has value, regardless of what they're saying. And then it starts to shift everything. And you go to a party and you're a magnet. Everyone wants to hang out with you or be around you because they feel safe and they feel like you guys are similar. God, I feel so close to you. I feel like I've known you forever. I get told that all the time. And it's just like, oh, because I know how to vibrate with you.
Wow.
And I know your thoughts and feelings because I tune into you, to your vibration. So then I could speak to you at your level.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So for those that are listening and want to know more, want to, connect with you, would the best place be your website? Is there a way to connect? Is there social media? How do you?
Yes, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and I'm also, soulblazing.com.
Are you on TikTok under your name? Like your
Yes,
actual name?
I
I
think
have to find
it's
you.
Soulblazer, Lisa Haisha or something, or Lisa Haisha Soulblazing.
Very cool. What do you do on TikTok? Is it all educational or is it funny?
Yeah,
Are you dancing for us?
I know. Teaching and education, like affirmations with music, that kind of thing.
I'll have to check that out. That's fantastic. Well, this has been great. I want to ask one last question. I always like to address the audience, those that are listening live or on the replay. Advice to females who are struggling with, let's go with pivoting, who are struggling with pivoting. They're sitting, they're looking around, they're scared, they want to make a change, but they're just nervous. What's your advice?
Everything I said in this talk. Take the time out to do your mornings.
Yeah.
Take the time to get to know who you are. People who pivot don't really know who they are because they're lost. Their personality got so out of alignment from their authentic soul. And when your personality and your soul are in alignment, that's where the magic happens. That's when you become whole and complete. So now your personality is working for your authentic soul to do its job that you were born to do. And once that's in alignment, I never work a day in my life. Writing this was such pleasure. Doing this was such pleasure. It's not work. Seeing clients is pleasure. It's play. I don't have a job. And once you get to that point, that's when your work could start getting better and increase, and everything just changes. So pivoting or feeling lost or feeling overwhelmed, I don't even know where to start with knowing who you are. Start with simple meditation, a mind dump of what's in your head, and who gave you that thought and where it came from, and creating declaration. And I have Zoom calls. I teach classes for very cheap for groups. So everyone could learn. So go to my website and sign up for a Zoom. Just, fill out the form and I will create a new Zoom for people.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. What are your big dreams for your business?
My big dreams are to transform as many people as I can, one day at a time, regardless if they have money or not. So I have free classes. I have really just donation classes, and I charge $500 an hour to other people, and it all varies. So it all works out.
I love it. I love it. I love everything about you. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being here. I appreciate it. For those of you listening, if you resonated with what Lisa is speaking of here today, make sure you connect with her social media, or her website, soulblazing.com. And she listed a bunch of social media that she's under her name. So thank you so much for being here, for joining us on Her Version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph, be sure to reach out to me here or at herversion.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. As always, until next time, do something